Good evening and welcome to Across the Pitch. We're the soccer show for people who think quarantine is a club from Eastern Europe.
Was that Carabag?
Carabag, yeah.
Carabag. I actually said it right too.
Everybody loves the game against Carabag.
Gerben Gerbenov. Gerben, we're still waiting for you to come on the show, by the way. And I'm Phil Kennedy, and I'm here with my co-hosts.
Arran Quarantine Airs and
Matt Robards.
Mr. Self-Isolated Robards over there. How we all doing? We good? Just checking in on you guys because I have to say week 2 of no football and no booze makes us go something. It's the perfect time for our Across the Pitch variety show. On tonight's show, Matt takes a terrifying look from atop the Across the Pitch towers as he prepares for his leap into what you need to watch with no live sport. Plus, Phil puts on a powerhouse ballroom dancing display as he skirts around controversy and completes a double backflip while discussing his reasoning for his favourite neutral games. And I place my head into the jaws of improbability and derision as I tell you the best goal in history. All that and more in a built-for-podcast visual edition of Across the Pitch. But first,
make sure you guys head on over to your social media and give us a follow. While we're not breaking down games or talking about matches being played because of this break, we are going to have a special listener question episode next week. And so that's where you send us questions, is on social media, whether it's via Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Just search Across the Pitch. We are going to answer questions on air. If we answer your questions, I think there might be a little something special in it for you.
Are we going to do something special? I don't know. I kind of feel like, that's enough reward.
That is the something special. We'll give you a shout out on social media.
We've got all kinds of new things going. We've got the shirts, we've got the stickers. So, who knows what might be in store next.
Phil, I have to offer an apology to you, mate, because I wasn't really into that holographic sort of sticker that we've got now. I was wrong, man. People are eating that shit up.
Hey, they're good-looking stickers. I mean, you drew up a heck of a logo, and it looks good on anything that we put it on, it seems.
People are out of toilet paper right now, so,
You give people something shiny in times like this, and they just go crazy.
Oh, crazy. We're going a little bit crazy tonight. We're not mentioning the C word or anything to do with the number 19. Okay.
Or Tottenham. We're not going to talk about Tottenham.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to. But that's
we won't be talking about Tottenham till April 1st.
Oh, I see what you did there, Phil. Nice, man. Hey, right. So, okay, we're all quarantined, yeah? Believe it or not, we're not recording this in the Across the Pitch towers in our studio here. We're actually doing it remotely, aren't we, right now?
Always.
Yeah, we were normally... we do it at the upstairs and now we're downstairs. we put the cat box in the other room now.
It's not true. We are definitely professional when it comes to this, but no, we are doing it remotely, and we've got a bit of downtime, haven't we? Well,
I would say that we are the most hygienic show ever because we keep all of our guests about 5,000 miles away. So.
I was going to say, you haven't seen my room, man.
Well, that's why we don't do video.
All right, let's get into this show because, all right, I feel like we're losing listeners by the second here. Right. And this is non-football related because, we're running out of shit. But we wanted to have a chat about our favorite TV shows, basically. What we would recommend to our listeners, because, people listen to us and may not respect us. I think that's probably going a step too far, but, they listen to us and they'll be like, all right, what are you guys doing? So, Matt, I'm going to throw this your direction. What are you listening to during your self-isolation period over there?
Yeah. So I think this is tough because there's a lot of great shows that I like. And so I'm going to throw out some honorable mentions. I'm currently watching Lost again. I think Lost is a good show. Scrubs, if you like comedies. Obviously, the best comedy ever, The Office, but I wasn't going to put that on this list because everybody's watching that anyways. So my first recommendation is, if you have not watched Breaking Bad, take this time and watch Breaking Bad. It's an amazing show, great storytelling, great cinematography, great writing. I can't say enough good things about it. It's suspenseful. There's funny parts, there's sad parts, there's scary parts. It has probably the best villain to ever grace TV screens in Gustavo Fring.
Oh, yeah. Oh, damn. I should have waited for the end of that sentence there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get a better villain in movie or television than Gustavo Fring. I mean, just Giancarlo. Was it Giancarlo?
Darth Vader?
Oh, better than Darth Vader.
Darth
Vader is iconic.
Darth Vader is iconic, but when you have Gus Fring, who is the nicest, most well-mannered, sociopathic serial murderer, I mean, it just doesn't get any better.
So Jones do his voice though.
My thing is Breaking Bad. Go check out Breaking Bad.
Has anyone not watched Breaking Bad, just out of curiosity, here on the show?
I don't watch stuff like that.
Oh man, you are so missing out.
Phil, you gotta watch Breaking Bad, man.
Maybe
check it out.
Maybe if they cancel football forever, I'll eventually get around to watching Breaking Bad. But,
on Netflix. So, what about you guys? Should I just throw out all three of mine, or do you guys want to? Should we go through this one?
We'll just go all three at a time. I think.
Okay,
I kind of get the feeling what your follow-up might be here if you're gushing about Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I definitely have a little bit of alliteration going here with my three picks. So my second one is Better Call Saul. Currently right in the middle of the 5th season, I believe.
Why do I want South Korea for?
What?
What do I want to call South Korea for?
So Better Call Saul, a prequel to Breaking Bad. Again, it's just great writing, great cinematography, great storytelling, great acting. Just can't speak. I'm going to go out on a limb, and Aaron, me and you have kind of talked about this a little bit. I think Better Call Saul is probably better than Breaking Bad.
I would agree.
So
I would agree.
So then my last one here is a comedy, because I figured I can't have two just kind of dramas that have a lot of nefarious activity going on. So I went with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Just a great show, funny, keeps you laughing. It's kind of what you need in a time like this. So I didn't want to go with The Office because I thought that was too obvious. I also enjoy Parks and Recs, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a great kind of show that's still on TV. That's just hilarious.
Might have to go check that out, actually.
So what about you, Aaron?
All right. So you did steal my thunder there with Better Call Saul. I'm going to one up you here and say it's better than Breaking Bad, because we know how Better Call Saul ends. It's a prequel, but it still doesn't tie those pieces together. It's remarkable. It's suspenseful. It's like, how do we get to that point? It's almost like Star Wars Episode 3, but just like a million times better when it comes to show writing. Vince Gilligan is one of the biggest brains in TV. He's brilliant. Bob Odenkirk is Slippin' Jimmy or Saul Goodman. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Beautiful character development. And yeah, we get that really evil presence of Gus Fring. He's just brilliant. Better Call Saul. It's about I think 4 episodes in as we're recording this now into the 5th season. It is the 5th and last. Catch up. You got time. While in self-isolation, go and do it. Now, in a similar vein to Better Call Saul, this one's kind of under the radar, I think, but it's well worth a mention. And I think season 3 of this is coming out, if not this week, then next week. And that's Ozark. It has Jason Bateman in there from Arrested Development fame. And if you want to go way, way back, Teen Wolf 2, it is really gritty. It's, again, yes, it's cartel oriented. It's about a family that's scrambling to basically keep ahead of the chopping block, if you know what I mean. And it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Great writing, wonderful cinematography. I believe it may have been borrowed from Breaking Bad, but still really good. 3rd season coming out shortly. Did you have something to say there, man?
Yeah, man. I have not seen Ozark, but just your description alone makes me want to check it out. What I think is kind of cool from what you said is the influence that I think Breaking Bad started with just the way they filmed. Mm-hmm. I think we're starting to see now in other TV shows. So I'm definitely going to check out Ozark. Did you say that's on Netflix?
Yeah, it's Netflix. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's 2. Nice.
Do you have a 3rd?
Yeah. Did I say it didn't need to be sport related?
You said it could be sport related.
Okay, good. I'm not contradicting myself then, because Sunderland Till I Die, season 3, a wonderful comedy, is coming out, and I believe it'll be out before the end of the month. If you haven't watched season 2, rip-roaring, side-splitting episodes, well worth a mention. Can't wait to see what happens in season 3. Oh, wait, I already
got some letters from Northeast.
Bring it on. But also some love mail from Newcastle fans. Hello, guys. How are you? Hi.
So real quick, Sunderland Till I Die is on season 1, is what you're saying. And season 2 comes out, I think, April 1st.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Did I jump ahead of myself there? I probably.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's cool. I just wanted to clear it up. So, yeah, season 1, great. Kind of very interesting to see how much that club is ingrained in the community. And season 2, I'm sure, is going to be just as good, especially because there was a 2nd relegation.
There was. It doesn't look like that there is going to be another relegation this season.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
Out of 6 shows, that's the only one I've ever seen. So.
What about you? You know why I messed it up? Hang on. You know why I messed it up is because I'm watching season 3 now on TV. Well, I used to be watching it on TV before they shut down football in the UK. So, yeah, okay. Forgive me, but I love it. Go ahead.
So what about you, Phil? What are your kind of suggestions here?
Well, I mean, I got to be 100% honest that most of what I watch is sports related, so I barely even turn my TV on these days. I do enjoy classic sitcoms though, and I've also, once in a while, we'll check out something modern. I really think once Seinfeld went off the air, that things kind of went downhill. I mean, 30 Rock and How I Met Your Mother are a couple winners that have come out since the turn of the century. But I mean, those are popular shows that are a little too popular for my list. So my modern pick is a show that actually was a Netflix original. Just aired its final season back in January, and that would be BoJack Horseman.
Yes. Why do you like BoJack? I love and loathe BoJack. I don't know, maybe it's just a reflection upon myself and my own inner turmoil, but why do you like BoJack?
Well, I think that you kind of nailed it a little bit. It's a deep show. It's almost like you watch a show like The Simpsons or The Family Guy, and they try to maybe get deep sometimes, and it's just so silly that it can't be. Where BoJack, it manages to take that silliness and the darkness, and that's part of what I like about Seinfeld so much, is if you think about Seinfeld, it's really very dark humor. It's almost every show ended with somebody everybody got screwed. It was a comedic tragedy, and BoJack is very much in that comedic tragedy kind of line.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Seinfeld greater than Friends. Now, there's some hate mail.
Oh, that's not even a question. Friends is the Whitney Houston of television.
So let me get this straight, Aaron. You say you're going to go out on a limb and say Seinfeld is greater than Friends. That's not going out on a limb.
That's like going out on a limb and saying Manchester United is a bigger club than Accrington. I mean,
Seinfeld is one of the best shows of all time, and it's way better than
worst.
No, the reason why I'm saying I'm going out on a limb is that limb will be supported by Seinfeld fans, but that's not going to stop those rotten tomatoes being thrown at me by all those Friends fans over there. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh man, Friends is just a terrible show. I've actually sat down and tried to watch it like 3 times just to see what. Generally speaking,
you gave it 3 times.
If something is popular over a 20-year period and 20 years later it's still popular, there must be something to it. Friends just completely breaks that mold along with Whitney Houston. They both are terrible and have absolutely no reason they should have ever been relevant.
Shout out to Darren Woodhead there. Talk about things never being popular. What's your second pick?
Well, I'm going to take Perfect Strangers, which is a show that it was actually probably the favorite show of my childhood. When I was 10 years old, I would wait for this show to come on every week. About 15 years ago, season 1 came out on DVD, and season 2 came out on DVD, and then the rest of the seasons never came out. Finally, you can watch this entire series on Hulu. I'm a huge fan of physical comedy. I'm talking going back to like Three Stooges and stuff like that. And for physical comedy, there has never been a better sitcom in the modern era than Perfect Strangers.
You know, I feel like there's a lot more to be taken from that comedy because, they're in Chicago, I think, wasn't it? And what was the guy's name now? Like Balky
Bartakamos, played by Bronson Pinchot, and then there's Marklin Baker, who plays Larry Appleton, and basically Balky shows up in Chicago on Larry's doorstep one day, and they're distant cousins, and
that's right.
And so basically, I mean, it's a very deep show because Belky is just this like pure, innocent sheep herder from this island that doesn't even exist, that hasn't been corrupted by the American way of life, and then Larry is just this very capitalistic American. And the thing is it's actually based on The Odd Couple, and how you know this. And so The Odd Couple, obviously goes back. There was a series with Jack Klugman and Tony Randall, and even before that on Broadway and everything. But in the show opening, if you watch the opening sequence to Perfect Strangers in the early seasons, the very last scene always shows outside of a theater in Chicago, and on the billing is that The Odd Couple is giving place. So it's basically a 1980s/90s adaptation of The Odd Couple.
Wow. Okay, I don't think anyone's spoken about Perfect Strangers since 1986, but it's basically like an immigrant's welcoming sort of thing. I buy into that, but I still think Mork and Mindy is better than Perfect Strangers. So eat me.
Okay, well, I'm not saying that Mork and Mindy. I mean, obviously you have Robin Williams, one of the most talented actors of all time. I'm not here to debate that. I will tell you a very random and obscure fact that most people probably would not know is that Perfect Strangers was actually the predecessor to Family Matters. Harriet Winslow was the elevator operator at the Chicago Chronicle. Carl Winslow even made a guest appearance on the show as Carl several times. And then I believe it was at the end of season 4, they said that the elevator was going to self-service, and Harriet left the show and went to Family Matters at that point as a spin-off. So without Perfect Strangers, the world would have never had Steve Urkel.
Steve Urkel, exactly. And that's rubbish. Boo. Boo. All right, you better make it up with one last one here, Phil.
Well, my last one, it's another one that I would say it kind of falls into the cult classic. I debated between this and News Radio, which I see is also on Hulu, and of course News Radio really never became what it should have became because of the tragic death of Phil Hartman. But the other show that was on around the same time that it's very, very underrated in my book, ran for 8 seasons, one of the funniest shows that was ever on. Another great one that really mixed in the physical comedy is Wings.
Starring Paul McCartney, I believe.
Not that Wings. It was about the Hackett brothers, Brian and Joe Hackett. They ran a single plane airline out of Nantucket Airport, and Crystal Bernard was the counter waitress, and it was just a hilarious show. And it launched the career of Tony Shalhoub, who played Antonio Scarpacci.
I feel like his name is right. It's Tony Shalhoub.
He was Monk. Remember, he's been a lot. Tony Shalhoub. He was in that show Monk.
I do remember that. Maybe it's time to get to some football.
We probably should.
Get to the pitch of Across the Pitch. What do you say?
That's
I might have gone on a bit there.
So, Aaron, why don't you tell us what we're going to talk about that is football related?
Okay, all right. So there's no live football for the foreseeable future, it seems, at least anyway. And foreseeable is at least the end of the month and probably beyond. So I propose we cast our glance back upon some of the most glorious games we've ever watched that didn't involve the team that we support. So no Arsenal for us, me and Phil, and no Chelsea for you, Matt, okay?
Spoiler alert, guys, real quick. There's also going to be no Arsenal for me.
There's no Chelsea for me either. Yeah.
I don't even have clubs. I have countries.
Oh, look at you go.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers. Those spoilers. Come on. We want people to hang around for this, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to describe, maybe not in full, but maybe just a highlight reel of the best neutral game we've ever seen and why it was so much fun to watch. I believe we're going to start with you, Phil.
I'm going to keep it short because I feel like I kind of hogged up a bit of the last section here. But the one that I'm picking is a bit unusual because it's a game that actually ended opposite of how I wanted to. But it's a very important game for me personally because back in 2006 with the 2006 World Cup was really when I fell in love with the sport, and the player that I fell in love with that made me fall in love with the sport first was Zinedine Zidane. And Zinedine Zidane has one game that, for better or worse, he will always be remembered for. And you know, he in hockey and in ice hockey, you had the Gordie Howe hat trick, which is if you got a goal, an assist, and a fight in the same game. And Zinedine Zidane basically had the Gordie Howe hat trick in the final game of his career in the final game of the World Cup when he headbutted Marco Materazzi, and then we won't talk about what happened after that. Next.
I don't remember what happened there at all. I don't recall that game.
Yeah, so it ended up where Zidane had put France ahead, and then Italy ended up getting the equalizer. I believe it's even Materazzi who scored the equalizer. So it was just the Zidane and Materazzi game is really what it was, and then it ended up going down to PKs, and of course with Zidane sent off, that was one of their main PK guys, and the Italians, I think, took it, was it 5-4 on pins?
5-3. Yeah.
5-3.
Dude, those teams were just stacked.
Oh.
I mean, you're looking like
On and Henri on the same team. I mean,
listen to this France team: Thierry Henry, Florent Malouda, Zinedine Zidane, Frank Ribery, Claude Makelele, Patrick Vieira, Eric Abidal, William Gallas. I mean, it's just stacked up and down. And then, the Italians had Gattuso and Pirlo and Totti and Luca Toni, and Alessandro Del Piero comes off the bench, and Daniel De Rossi comes off the bench. Fabio Cannavaro. I mean, it's just Gianluigi Buffon in goal. What a game that was. And for Zidane to go out of his career with a headbutt in the 110th minute, I mean, that was just wild. Just wild.
It could have been very, very different as well. It could have been Australia versus France in the grand final, and it could have been John Aloisi being headbutted by... Oh, you laugh. When we got knocked out in the quarterfinals, I think it was, by very... Lucas Neal went down the box, and Totti got the penalty. And so in extra time, I think it was, a miserable 0-0 draw up until that point. Australia went down on the buzzer against Italy. And you know what? Australia's not meant to beat Italy, so of course we were going to go down. But there you go. I'm still dirty about that.
I gotta say,
is Italian, and every time I come up, I look at her and I glare at her.
I gotta say, for Americans, the 2006 World Cup is one we tend to forget about because the United States was absolutely atrocious in that tournament. They finished bottom of their group with 1 point and just the one draw. We prefer to talk about the 2002 World Cup, where we made it to the quarterfinals.
And got dumped out by Germany. So well done, you guys.
Yes, on a handball on the goal line that should have been called. We should have had a PK. We should have went on the semifinals. Okay, Aaron, don't get me started. I mean, Phil, that's a good shout right there, man. That was a great game, and for it being Zidane's last game, it's going to go down in history for a lot of reasons. So, Aaron, what about you, man? What's your best neutral game?
Okay, so mine is also from 2006 as well, and it was the last time Liverpool won a domestic trophy that counts. And no, I'm not talking about the Charity Shield or the League Cup. Fuck that shit. And I'm talking about domestic as well. So don't come at me with your Champions League bollocks, all right? It's Liverpool 3, West Ham 3 after extra time. Liverpool win 3-1 on penalties. This was, for the neutral, one of the best games you've ever seen. It was end-to-end stuff. There was no defense whatsoever. The ball ended up in the back of the net. Like, okay, so let's add it up here. So 3, 9, 10, I'm going to say 20 times. And a couple of those are ruled off. There was a Jamie Carragher own goal to kick off West Ham's start, and I think they went 2 down, and then Liverpool were like, oh, we'll get a couple back. It was just brilliant, end-to-end, no holds barred, attacking football. And I had to say, I had to go to a friend's barbecue. I was living in London at the time. I had to go to a friend's barbecue. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be an hour or so late here because it was brilliant. And you know what? Even after 120 minutes, they still couldn't decide the winner of these two teams. So they went to penalties, and I can't remember who lost. I believe Steven Gerrard and John Arran, who I think is he a defender or a defensive midfielder?
He's a left back.
Left back, right? Okay. They scored. I don't know why he was third on the I guess they flipped some coins and went like, it's West Ham. And Teddy Sheringham, do you remember him? He used to be Tottenham for a long time, and then I think he went across to West Ham. Yeah, he got that one penalty for West Ham, and the rest of the team were blowing bubbles. But that was a belter of a game. 2006, what a game!
Yeah, West Ham was absolutely poor on their penalty kicks for sure. But I mean, they could have won that. But if it wasn't for Gerrard in the 91st, 92nd minute, something like that, he sends it to extra time. You know, Steven Gerrard always showing up for, I guess I should say, LA Galaxy legend, Steven Gerrard, always showing up for, he didn't slip in that game. So that's good. He didn't cost him a. So no, man. That's what we talk about with the FA Cup on here all the time is just the magic of the cup. If it's not lower league teams upsetting teams that should easily get by them, it's kind of these gritty games and these interesting finals. So the FA Cup's always fun, and here's hoping with all this stoppage, some of the talk is maybe getting rid of it next year, and so. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I love the FA Cup. So, yeah, good call, man. Well, Phil, you got anything you want to add about that game, or?
Well, I want to hear what you have here because I see what you've got coming up, and I think that this is quite an interesting one. So why don't you tell us what your game is here, Matt?
Yeah, well, Aaron, you were right. This 2006 FA Cup final was just the greatest game for a neutral ever. That is until 2017 Champions League knockout round, leg 2, Barcelona 6, Paris Saint-Germain 1. And I know I say that and it doesn't sound exciting, but that's because in the first leg Paris Saint-Germain won 4-0. So Barcelona had a hole to dig themselves out of. And so they got started off quickly in the 3rd minute. Luis Suarez nets. Then you got Kurzawa own goal in the 40th minute. Messi gets a penalty in the 50th minute. It's now 3-4 on aggregate. And here you think, oh, it's going to happen. Barca are coming back, and then PSG get that mighty away goal in the 62nd minute coming through Edison Cavani. And I'm sure Barcelona's heads sort of dropped a little bit. People around the world. I remember watching this game thinking, there it is. It's an away goal. It's over. And then Neymar shows up. 88th minute, he gets a goal. 91st minute, he gets a penalty. So now we're tied. Who's going to go through, what's going to happen. And this is what's cool about the Champions League. This is what I love about this game is you get a substitute coming off the bench, Sergei Roberto, who is a right back, doesn't play a lot, wasn't playing a lot that year. He's kind of a fixture now, but he comes off the bench in the 76th minute. And in the 98th minute, the 95th minute, you're talking the dying game. Barca gets a free kick. It kind of finds its way and it gets chipped in. And Sergei Roberto is kind of the only one that's aware of what's happening. And he just runs in and gets just the daftest of touches on that ball to send it past Kevin Trapp. And Barca go through 6-5 on aggregate. They call this game, and I'm going to butcher this because I don't speak Spanish, La Remontada, which means the comeback. La Remontada, the comeback. And so as a neutral, it was just great to see. Here you thought PSG were finally going to make this claim of, hey, we've spent this money. We're a big time club. We have these owners that have billions upon billions of dollars. We're going to win the Champions League. It's the only thing that matters to their club. And here comes Sergei Roberto, Barcelona substitute, and he says, I don't think so. So that was great match.
So you're basically saying it was wonderful to see a billion-dollar enterprise beat another billion-dollar enterprise.
You know what? So Barcelona has that history. Barcelona, I think, has built something. I just don't like PSG, man. I don't like this whole for the same reason I'm not a big fan of City. I would prefer if City and PSG never win the Champions League. And so to see them get knocked out again, I mean, you look at this PSG lineup, Edson Cavani, Julian Draxler, Marco Verratti, Lucas Moura, who's now playing for Spuds, Blaise Matuidi, Adrian Rabiot, Kurzawa, Silva, Marquinhos, Munier, Trapp. I mean, this was a team that I'm sure they thought, hey, we're going to go do it. Now, again, Barca says, nope, I don't think so. So great game. If you haven't seen it, go find highlights, go find the full match and give it a watch.
That's what I was going to say. You can watch all of those matches on YouTube. You'll see the highlights there out there. Just go and search for those particular games. One little anecdote, though, I have to say about that PSG versus Bayern game. The first leg, I don't know. I was kind of happy to see PSG beat Bayern, and I was teaching teachers at the time on how to build websites, and I was saying, let's go and copy some text from a web page, and I'll show you how to do that because, Control C and Control V is a little bit difficult for some at times. I was like, don't ever do this because this is copyright, but for the basis of this class, you can go and do this. And I went and said, go to this website and copy this headline. And it was PSG 4, Barcelona 0. Because it was happening while I was teaching that class, and you bet I was watching that game.
That's what makes those two-legged affairs and the knockout stage of the Champions League. I think to me that's the best part of the Champions League. That the group stage just kind of bogs down a little bit, and then that final game, it's just one game. But those two-legged affairs when you get to the knockout rounds, that's the best part of the Champions League to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of feel a little bit jaded by the Champions League. Am I the only one? This is like a little bit formulaic, and you get a couple of upset teams there, but they're never going to get through to the semis or the final. Do you know what I mean? I'm like,
Well, I mean, you had Ajax kind of made a run last year.
True.
I mean, the Spuds got to the final game last year. I mean, if they can do it, anybody can.
Right. Hey, they even made a DVD about it.
A 300-page book.
Hey, Matt.
300-page picture book.
Is it true that they're actually following Tottenham around this year for Amazon?
Yes, they are. So Amazon has a series called, oh, great. You guys put me on the spot. It's called, oh, man. I can't remember what it's called, but they do it with like NFL teams. I think it's called Bottled. The Tottenham.
So it's like the NFL Hard Knocks thing.
Yeah, but Amazon has its own thing.
COVID-19 Tottenham one.
But it has. I mean, they do it with they've done it with the New Zealand rugby team. They've done it with some NFL teams, and Tottenham was the first football team, and so Man City was last year. Sure, 2 years ago.
Oh, that one.
And so Tottenham is being followed around right now, and man, that is going to be just a drama-filled season with firings and getting knocked out of cups, and now you got the whole coronavirus situation. So it's going to be good viewing.
Mourinho.
It's going to be great viewing if you hate the Tottenham. So, right. Well, boys, let's talk about best goals.
Okay.
You want to each just do one here on the goals? If otherwise, I think we're just going to run on and on.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just kind of pick one each.
Okay. All right. Who's going first?
I know that's tough. I'll go first.
All right, man. Let's see you.
So we picked three. All three land with clubs I love. But I'm got to go with the Zola FA Cup goal in 2002 against Norwich City. You got, who is now a presenter, Graham Lasso takes a corner. It's an in-swinger. Zola meets it at the near post, jumps in the air, hits it with his back heel of his right foot with enough pace and power, and I think really catching the Norwich goalie off guard that it goes in. Just a great goal, just the skill. from timing the jump to, allowing the ball to go between your legs to then hit it with your back heel right into the goal. I think it just shows really what Zola was as a player, and that is the little magician. Forever loved it at the Bridge, no matter if his run as assistant manager with
you
sorry,
beat me to it, Matt, damn it.
but it was just amazing to see, something I love watching, and I have a Zola shirt hanging in my closet, and that's what I'll remember him for.
Awesome.
All right, fair enough, man. Well, mine's going to be a bit of a surprise for you.
Okay.
And you know what? It's probably not the most spectacular goal, but it was certainly the most entertaining from my point. So I'm going to go with Paul Robinson, right? Who you might remember. He was a Tottenham goalkeeper back in, I want to say, are we still talking about 2006 here? I think we are. Maybe it's 2000. No, it was 2000. I beg your pardon. It was 2007. So let's skip forward a season there, shall we? Paul Robinson, Tottenham goalkeeper. He gets the ball from, I don't know, there was a penalty. It was maybe 70 yards away from the Watford goal. And he's like, what the hell? Let's just go and boot the shit out of this. And the poor old Watford keeper, I can't remember his name, he was off his line, and all he could do was sort of wave at this ball as it sailed over his head into the net. So it was a goalkeeper kicking, and the other goalkeeper at the other end didn't save it. It was a wonderful calamity. It was absolutely amazing. And the best part of this was that I think I was getting a lift to the airport, Heathrow Airport at the time in London. And a mate of mine, shout out to Errol, how are you, fella? He was picking me up to drop me off at the airport. And I was like, mate, did you just see Tottenham goalie scored? And he's like, shut the fuck up. I'm a Tottenham fan. I'm I'm recording this. Don't say another word. I'm like, well, your goalie scored. He's like, God damn it.
Oh, man.
I was thinking to get a lift to the airport after that. But I don't know what the final result of that was, but that was just well, you don't often see goalkeepers scoring. But if I did have a backup, and if I may indulge you lads, all right, I've got one other to speak about, and it was Didier Drogba rolling up for Phoenix Rising. I think it was probably his second or third penalty, probably about 35 yards out. I think it was a 3-3 draw about 2 seasons ago. It just leveled the scores, and it was a belter. I watched it on TV, and the commentator said, surely he can't do it from here, and you fucking bet he did. And I'll tell you what, at that moment, I became a Didier Drogba hater to a lover, because now he's playing for my side of Phoenix Rising. Well done, Didier. Love you, man.
Yeah, I mean, he just had a special ability. I mean, even, when he was, I think, 42 in his very last season here in Phoenix, I mean, when he'd get a chance at a free kick, I mean, he just had so much power. He would kick the ball so hard, guys would be looking to get out of the way of it. Like Granite Shaka.
Old head ducker, as you call him. All right, Phil, over to you. We're going to wrap this shit show up. It's the end of our variety show. Best goal ever. What do you got, mate?
Well, this was honestly, this was really hard for me, because the goals that tend to stick out for me are the ones that I've seen in person that, maybe happened 15 feet in front of me, or I was lucky enough to catch a video on camera. I mean, there's certainly some goals that stick out. I know that there was a goal that was by Daniel Barlasser last year for Accrington. That was the goal of the year that I voted for last year. So that was one that sticks out for me. And of course, there's been millions of them. I've seen so many good goals on TV that it gets kind of hard to separate them after a while. So that's why I decided to go with one that we actually talked about on the show recently, which is Adam John Spaninka penalty. I was literally standing directly behind the goal when he did this. Speaking of the goaltender just kind of waving at the ball, that's exactly what happened on this. And I mean, it's just such a rare shot to actually see a successful one in person and be standing right there, and then actually get to interview the guy and talk to him about it later. I mean, how could I pick anything else?
You could have picked Olivier Giroud's scorpion kick, but yeah, all right, let's go to Panenka. Why not?
or any goal Arsenal ever scored against Tottenham.
Yeah.
I mean, really, we could just say any goal scored against Tottenham. I particularly liked. Yeah.
What if it's like Man United or PSG? I would rather have that be a 0-0 draw when they play Tottenham.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if Tottenham plays Man United, I want a 0-0 draw. I don't want either one of them to win.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, all right, I see where we're going with that. But hey, enough of the Tottenham hatred. I gave him a 1-up. Thank you, Paul Robinson. Lads, we could probably be in isolation and... Oh, I'm sorry, Siri's talking to me now. We could probably be in isolation for weeks, and we will be, and we could talk about football and all that nonsense and ways to murder birds. Still there. But I think we need to wrap the show up tonight. So any final words, lads?
No, that's it from me.
Hey, I do have a final word. If you see someone driving around town with an across-the-pitch magnet on the back of their car, don't run them off the road like you usually would. Okay, just give them a little thumbs up, all right?
Yes, thank you to everyone who has been getting our magnets and stickers and posting the photos on social media. We really appreciate the support when we send those out to see that the folks are putting them on their vehicle, and it means a tremendous amount to have folks not only listening to the show but also putting our logo on their vehicles.
That really is amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. It is incredible. And hey, be sure to watch out for social media, Matt, because we're going to be asking Q&A on there. We want your questions. Maybe we might give something out, but we'll definitely give you a shout out at the very least.
Yes, for sure.
I think that whoever comes up with the best question should get a pizza with pepperoni and jalapenos.
Oh, hey, spoilers. We may give something out. It may not be a pizza. It's going to be a long time to get to the UK.
But if we do give away a pizza, it will have jalapenos on it.
What is up with you and jalapenos, mate? Anyway, lads, it's been a wonderful chat tonight. I did have one last thing, and it went out of my head. So that's probably a sign that we need to sign off.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a little bit different than normal. First time that we ever did across the Tele, but
I like it.
But hey, thank you all for hanging on with us, and we appreciate everyone that listens to the show, and send in those listener questions, because we have a full episode of listener questions that we're trying to do coming up here. And until next time, for my brother from down under,
my mate from State 48, and Mr. Wizard over there.
It's been good talking to you guys.
Good night.
Have a good night.